Hello and welcome to another video. Today I'll be going over some key points as to why I am stacking copper pennies or pre-82s. It's a fun and simple way to build a collection of something that'll have value, and that value it'll increase in time. Maybe not substantially like gold or silver, but enough to want to thank yourself later in the future. With the skyrocketing prices on precious metals, I think a lot of people are at odds with spending that little bit of extra cash on volatile assets. It's a longs game, and these days those little extra dollars they come less and less. But just about everybody from any income level has pennies laying around. I mean, you can find them in your pocket change, in parking lots, playgrounds. Kids throw them at squirrels. They're hurled out of car windows at tailgaters. They're left in the ashtrays at the convenience store. You know, it's almost embarrassing to stop and pick one up on the street, you know? But things are changing. You know, to many, the 1 cent is it's kind of a nuisance, but the price of copper is on the rise. It's been climbing ever so slowly with other metals, and its use case in electronics, energy, AI, data centers, EVs, it rivals that of silver. It's cheaper and it's easier to mine, but its demand is quickly outpacing supply and is potentially becoming more and more scarce as mines are depleted and new undeveloped mines take years to complete. And as far as, you know, the conductive properties, it's second only to silver, which has been sidelined on a lot of projects in favor of its cheaper counterpart. Silver is actually a byproduct of copper and zinc mining. Copper mining has gotten more and more dangerous over the years as mines are dug deeper and deeper. So one thing I want to point out, you know, stacking copper is free. You know, these are all rolls of, you know, I've gone through my coffee cans and pulled all my pennies out, pulled all my copper, and just in melt value, which we can't melt pennies right now anyway, but just in melt value, you know, a 50-cent roll of pennies turns into $1.50. You know, so right off the bat, if you were to go to the bank and get, you know, whether it's a box or just a few rolls of pennies, you pulled out the copper pennies, you re-rolled them, you're actually getting money. You know, it's like a money hack. You know, you're getting free money. They're more than their face value for now, you know, just as, you know, pre-64 dimes and quarters were, you know, back in the day. They became more than their face value. They were slowly circulated out of the bank. People started to save them, pull them from banks. And they're a lot harder and harder to find. Copper pennies, on the other hand, are very readily available everywhere. You can get a good amount of pennies out of a roll. You can get even more so out of a box. If you want to go that route, it's like $25 for a box of pennies at the bank. And it's a really, literally a free way to add, you know, value. I don't see these coming valuable anytime soon. I mean, they're already worth more than their face value. And I would assume at some point, why is this bigger? What is this? Now this penny is a lot. It's like it won't even fit and barely fits in the roll. Huh. Let me weigh this. It's really weird. Looks like maybe it was smashed. Yeah, it's definitely wider than a regular penny. Let me see. Nah, it's 3.2 grams. I don't know. That's weird. This looks a little rough. So what the hell was I saying? Yeah, so, you know, these are readily available. You can find them anywhere. A lot of people have pennies laying around. They kind of just get in the way. But, rather than take them to Coinstar, first, which is fine, separate the copper out from the zinc, put the zinc ones away, throw them in the Coinstar if you have to, but hold on to the copper pennies. They're already worth more than their face value today. So, just as pre 64 silver dimes and quarters were worth slightly more than their face value, were, not necessarily discontinued, but the metal used to produce them was discontinued as they took silver from the currencies and made it cheaper to make. Well, that's what they did with pennies. They started using zinc. Now they don't make pennies at all. I believe early 2026, they're just going to stop making them because it costs too much to make. The copper value keeps climbing. And we know that technology is advancing faster and faster, and copper is very, very important to those projects. Another thing that you can do, you got these, you can get these little books here, fill in your dates, starts from 1959 and ends on 1982D. So these Lincoln Memorial collections are pretty neat. I think one just fell out. 66, 62. But yeah, these are pretty neat. They're fun for kids too. Kind of a cool way to get them into coin collecting. But yeah, this is a no-brainer. It doesn't cost anything. It's free. It could potentially be worth more in the future. Just as silver was, if you, it wouldn't hurt to get, rolls of pennies and just kind of sit on them somewhere. These aren't something that are so valuable you want to shove in a safe. I mean, hell, if somebody broke into your house and saw rolls of pennies around, they probably wouldn't even bother with them. But, when you're in the know and you know what could potentially happen and you learn about these things and you research, there's a very good chance, I wouldn't put it any earlier than 10 years, but about 10 years out, you could be looking at 5-6 cent pennies, So that's just going to keep increasing the value of this 50-cent roll of pennies. If it's already worth about $1.50 now, in the future, you could be looking at $2 rolls of pennies or $3 rolls of pennies. And at some point, it's going to be harder to get to the bank. And with the discontinuation, even from a non-monetary point of view, it becomes almost a nostalgic thing. And you look at look at media. VHS tapes were selling for big money on eBay, and a lot of collectors love VHS tapes, cassette tapes, vinyl records. I would say 90% of my vinyl record collection came from Goodwill, and I bought these records pennies on the dollar. Once that nostalgia factor kicked in, once more and more people, got hooked on that craze, and I mean now records are going for $30, $40 a pop. I mean, they're remaking them, they're pressing them on heavier vinyl, but just as a nostalgia factor, things come back, they become more valuable. So it's just it's a very simple, free way. You can really hustle and get free pennies. You can find them anywhere. You can do the bank rolls. But yeah, so this is just something that I'm going to start doing, when I have time. Possibly, I don't have the time to do a box from the bank, but I'm definitely going to start saving my pennies, rolling my copper pennies, getting rid of the zinc ones. And, hopefully at some point in the near future, they become worth a lot more. And then, hey, you're sitting on something good. And who knows, you pass it down to your kids, and maybe their kids, your grandkids, your great grandkids, maybe they'll be worth more if the world's even around then, who knows. But that's all I really have for this one. Thanks for watching. I'm going to a coin show on Sunday, so I'm interested to see where the price of silver is going to fall on that day. Hopefully I can get some good deals. It wouldn't bother me if it went down in price a little bit. But definitely excited, and I'll definitely get that video up and show you guys what I got. So I'll see you in the next one.